What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Mock Draft Guy YouTube channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over my top 20 running backs for the 2025 NFL draft. But this is a preseason ranking, of course, so this is subjective to the season. I do these every year for quarterbacks for the most part, and I do a preseason ranking, a midseason ranking, and then a final ranking after the college football season. So the way that this is going to go is I have my top 20 here. I'm going to be basically reading my evaluations from my big board that I have so far. So that will be linked in the pinned comment below. My big board with JWAC. We are the Dashing Draft Guys. We have a 2025 big board all ready to go on our Patreon. So join there for the draft board for just $5 a month. Everything else on the Patreon is completely free. So the way that these evaluations are done is I evaluate the prospect on about 3 or 4 games. I watch every snap from every game from that player for the most part, depending on how much film is actually available. So some of these smaller school prospects might be 2 games, might even be 1 game, to be honest with you. Let's get into it. We're looking at number 20 here, and we have Marcus Carrel from Missouri, formerly from Georgia State. He did transfer in the offseason here, and I like Marcus Carrel. He's good speed in the open field. He's got good initial burst through the line of scrimmage. He became the workhorse last year for the Georgia State Panthers and actually had a very, very productive season. He played well against good opponents last year. His game against LSU, he was particularly brilliant, and he picks up blitz as well. He's a decent blocker. The things that I wasn't so impressed with, his vision or his improvisational skills, he seemed just more of a straight line guy, not too many cuts through the line of scrimmage. One of the older running backs in the draft class at 22, going 23. And his lack of receiving. I know it isn't really his first type of team, but I don't know off the top of my head. I think low 20 last year, and he was the workhorse. So, and last thing I did notice is he doesn't have fantastic lateral agility. It's there, but this is a guy that if you're purely looking for like a Greg Roman type of running the football where, you know, you're just going to pound the rock through the line of scrimmage, I think that this is your guy. For me, I have him as an undrafted free agent for now, but like I said, everything is totally subjective as this season goes on. So we're going to look at number 19 here, and that's Jarquez Hunter out of Auburn. Really so one of the things that popped out to me, pardon me, is his frame. 5'10", 209 pounds, but he's built a lot bigger than that. So that was something that I really liked from his game. I mean, that's something that you can't really control from your game, but his size, he looks a lot bigger on screen than 5'10", 209 pounds would indicate. He runs low to the ground. He barely absorbs significant contact. That's something that I noticed quite a bit. So he's very, very fresh in the legs. He's a good receiver, soft, natural hands. Definitely has a receiving back build for the NFL level. So if his rushing doesn't get him to the next level, his receiving definitely will. And in a pass-first NFL we're transitioning to, that is something that's very, very valued. He's speedy as well. He accelerates really well through the line of scrimmage. He's got good vision, and he sets up his He sets up his defenders in space, and he's pretty slippery. But on the cons, he got tackled behind the line of scrimmage far too much for my liking. He's not a good runner in between the tackles, and he's very predictable as a runner. So what I mean is whatever works for him, he's going to go back to the lot time and time again. So he's very easy to figure out. He's essentially a non-factor as a blocker. And even though he is a good receiver and he's got good hands, he doesn't create a lot of separation in his actual routes. So that's something that you're looking for. Unlike running back wheel routes or angle route, Texas routes out of the backfield, you're looking for that natural separation, but the defenders definitely stick more towards him than you would like to see. So I do have Jarquez Hunter as an undrafted free agent so far in the offseason or the preseason rankings, but obviously subject to change. Now at 18, we have Phil Mafa from Clemson. This is someone that really, if you're looking for, to me, I mean, maybe not the build per se. I mean, he's got a great build. 6'1", 223 pounds is a fantastic build for a running back. He's more of a Mike Tolbert type of player for me without being like that butterball type of running back where he's just purely all gut and he's all power. Big, powerful frame, lowers the shoulders and punishes defenders with his overall size and strength in the open field. He became more of a focal point of the rushing attack as the season went on in 2023. So obviously he shared the backfield with now Eagles running back Will Shipley, but Shipley is more the do-it-all guy, whereas Phil Mafa was just, that quintessential, I'm going to run right through the tackles, I'm going to run over you type of runner. He's surprisingly fluid as a mover for his size, and he has some shiftiness to his game. So that's something that I was very, very surprised at. Granted, looking at his build, you would think he's more of a bowling ball type of guy, but he did have some lateral quickness, which was really nice. He was actually deployed a lot of times as a lead blocker for Will Shipley, more of that like tailback, type of role. He was really good. He is a decent blocker for sure. But on the con side, he doesn't offer too much as a receiver. He's got good burst through the line of scrimmage, but he doesn't have that second gear. So really, what you're seeing through the line of scrimmage is his speed. That is it. Once he gets through the line of scrimmage into the open field, there is no extra gear for him. And he is a little on the slower side. I believe he is around that 4.6, 4.7 type of speed, that Audric Estime type of speed. A lot of his big performances have came off of much smaller schools, just like Notre Dame. I'm kidding. That's a shot at Notre Dame there. He actually did have a pretty decent performance against Notre Dame, but that was the only noteworthy opponent where he actually rushed quite well. And he doesn't seem anything more than a short yardage or goal line back at the NFL level. Maybe he could translate over to fullback. I don't know if 6'1", 223 is going to get it done. And fullback is a dying position in the NFL, but you never know. You still got the Kyle Juszczyks out there of the world. So I do have him as an undrafted free agent at the time of recording. Now we are going to move on to Jordan James here, someone that I really enjoyed watching. Jordan James is a extremely difficult player to tackle. Low center of gravity, low to the ground, 5'10", 205 pounds, and he's got a relentless running style. The effort and motor are there on every single snap. That's something that I really look for in a running back. He doesn't take plays off. He's one of the highest graded runners of 2023. Now, I know that he did share that backfield with Bucky Irving, but in all of his games, he had a 94.2 overall grade from PFF. The efficiency is key. 11 touchdowns on just 108 carries. He's got good vision, and he's shifty. He can make defenders miss in open space, and he's got good speed with a good initial burst. Now, on the con side, he's not a great receiver out of the backfield, which is something surprising, especially for his size, because he shares that same type of size, athletic profile that Bucky Irving does. He did have some issues with drops. A lot of his big runs came off of RPOs, which is something that, to me, I don't put too much stock into because so much of the offense in college is based off of RPOs. But, on just 108 carries, I didn't really see too much of the traditional offense. It was mostly RPO based. Would like to see him develop a little bit more as a blocker. If you're not going to offer anything as a receiver at the NFL level, you have to offer more than just a runner. You have to be a good blocker. He does have good speed, but he doesn't have that elite breakaway speed. He gets caught from behind a lot and too much of a straight ahead runner for me. So he does possess some of that shiftiness, but he doesn't use it in his running style. So I think this is going to be a big year for Jordan James. I think if he could develop his game with the fact that he just turned 20 years old as well with a good frame, I think he could be a day 3 prospect as of right now. So we're moving on to number 16 here, and we have Kyle Manangi from Rutgers. And this is someone early on in my evaluations I was a big fan of. So, obviously the way that I do my rankings is while I'm evaluating players. If I say I evaluated Kyle Manangi first, he's obviously going to be number 1 in my rankings because that's the first guy that I looked at. So as the rankings and as the evaluations pour in, that's how I make my determinations on the rankings. So Manangi was in my top 10 for quite a while until I got to guys, I'm actually not going to spoil it for now, but Manangi is someone who is a little bit lower on my rankings, but honestly could shoot up for sure here. So we're going to look at Manangi's evaluation here. Super shifty as a runner. He makes players miss with ease. Despite his elusiveness, he has a north-south running style as well, so he's not going to get caught behind the line of scrimmage going horizontal. He's always going to try and go vertical, which is something I really like there. He's a bruiser as well. He's got a really nice size. For 5'9", 215, he's a powerful back. So he refuses to go down on initial contact. That's something that if you watch his highlight tape, you're going to see time and time again. He is relentless with his running style. He's constantly breaking through tackles. And he looks a lot faster than his reported 4.50 speed would indicate. Now, 4.5 flat is pretty fast for a running back, but he looks a lot faster than, and he finds the hole and he explodes through it with great burst. And he's actually a decent blocker as well. He wasn't asked to do too much blocking, but he was definitely passable for what he did on tape last year. And he's a smart player on and off the field, and he's a natural leader. That's something that you really look for in an NFL player. On the con side here, Manangi is someone that's going to be closer to the age of 23 at the time of the 2025 NFL draft. He's not a great receiving option, just 8 catches last year. He's not a very strong runner up the middle, which is funny because he's so strong, so powerful, and he's got a north-south running style, so you would think that he would explode through the line of scrimmage that way, but up the, in between the guards, that those A gaps there, he's not great. And occasionally he dances around the backfield a little bit too much for me. But Manangi is someone that I really think could benefit from a strong 2024 season. And against some massive opponents as well, he actually played pretty well. So Manangi is someone that's definitely on my day 3 radar as of right now. So that is definitely, definitely a chance to get higher than that. So we're going to look at 15 here. I have CJ Donaldson from West Virginia here. And one thing I love about CJ Donaldson is just his overall athletic and physical profile. He's 19 years of age as of right now. He's 6'2", 238 pounds. He's got fantastic athletic ability for a converted 240-pound tight end. And we have to remember that as well. He didn't start his collegiate career as a running back. He was a tight end. He's got really nice bursts through the line of scrimmage, showed great patience, and his feet never stopped moving in the backfield, waiting for the holes to open up. More of a I would say, out of the top 20 prospects, he reminded me a lot of Le'Veon Bell. And obviously, prime Le'Veon Bell is something that you definitely want to emulate your game after as a rookie. So he showed some fantastic patience jumping around in that backfield. He's a great pass blocker as well. Obviously, from his time at being a tight end, he is a above average blocker as a running back. He's an efficient overall runner, not easy to bring down. He's pretty solid yards after contact numbers as well. Good ball security, hasn't fumbled in his time in college. Still a ton of time to develop. So this is a 2025 ranking, but Donaldson has 2026 eligibility as well. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially at 19 turning 20, if he decides to go back. And if he has a strong 2024 season, he definitely could be a top running back in the 2026 class. So I would definitely look out for CJ Donaldson here. He doesn't, on the con side, just a couple things to note here. A virtual non-factor as a receiver, even though he was a tight end, just 18 receptions in 2 seasons. He's really more of a 2-down player to me at the NFL level, and he doesn't possess that breakaway speed that you would like to see in the open field. He does get caught from behind quite a bit, but there's a lot to like about CJ Donaldson's game, so that's someone definitely keep an eye on going into the 2024 season. Now we're going to look at Jaquavius Marx here. This is listen, this might be low for someone like Jaquavius Marx, but besides for the fact that he's going to be 24, one of the better route runners in the class for the position, he's one of the best receiving backs in the entire class. So he's a great rusher, and he's a fantastic receiver as well. Very patient runner, holds his hand on the back of the lead blockers like Le'Veon Bell. I used Le'Veon Bell quite a bit in these evaluations, if you couldn't tell. Wasn't asked to pass block too much, but I really liked what I saw from him when he did. I believe he only had 67 pass blocking snaps, if I remember looking at the sabermetric numbers correctly, and he actually did a pretty decent job. Tough runner. He's not afraid to lower the shoulder with his 5'10", 207-pound frame, and he's got good elusiveness in the open field as well. He definitely makes those defenders miss. One of the older running backs in the class, like I mentioned, he isn't as efficient as a runner as some of the other top running backs in the class, and he's got an injury history. Never had more than 121 carries in a season. Now he's entering his 5th or 6th year, I believe. I believe it's 5th year in college football. Now he's going for USC. He was formerly at Mississippi State, so maybe a little bit more of a more wide open offense for him to run. He isn't a running back that I could see carrying the majority of the workload in the NFL offense. He kind of reminds me of Anton Smith, if you guys remember him. He's a big play waiting to happen, but Anton Smith only got like 10 touches a game, something like that, but he always turned it into something special. And sometimes he bounces around too much in the backfield, which resulted in too many tackles for loss for me. So Marx is someone that I feel like has tremendous big playability, but just due to his age and his overall inexperience as a runner itself, which is crazy because he's going to be 24 years old throughout the course of the season. You would think he would have more experience as a runner. I have him as a day 3 guy and maybe a late day 3 guy at best there, but a lot to like from his game. I was certainly surprised. I looked at his age and I looked at his physical profile before I even started watching tape, and I wasn't impressed, and I was pleasantly surprised at the end of the evaluation. So now we're moving on to number 13 here. This might be a surprise to some people, but I have Donovan Edwards here at number 13. And I'm not going to lie, I was really disappointed in Donovan Edwards' tape, especially 2023. He's an incredibly efficient runner dating back to 2022, though. He does show some real promise as an overall playmaker. That's the thing with him. I think as an overall running back, I'm not impressed. As a playmaker, I'm definitely impressed. But he just doesn't get enough touches from me. He's got good top-end speed, good acceleration, and gets to his top speed quickly. Good vision as a ball carrier, good safety blanket as a receiving option, does have soft, reliable hands. He has been in a complimentary back his entire collegiate career so far. So he is going to take the reins of this Michigan backfield. This is going to be the make or break season for Donovan Edwards. He did have some drop issues in 2023, but his hands are reliable going back to 2022. But hopefully it's just a lapse in concentration. Last year, you get a case of the dropsies, whatever. He's a little bit banged up. He does have quite an injury history. And in the tape, even though he does have great speed, in 2022, he looked much faster than in 2023. I don't know if he was nagged by some nagging injuries in 2023 throughout the course of the season that we are not aware of, but overall, he looked a tick slower to me in 2023, and that's not something that you want to see from a running back. And also, this isn't more of a con, just more of a note. I mean, he's a much better runner to the right side of the formation than the left. A huge decline in yards per attempt between the tackles as well. So he's more of a 5 to 6 yard guy on the right side and more of a 2 to 3 guy in between the tackles or through the left side. So that's something that could be just playing to the strength of the offensive line. But that's something that I did notice in the sabermetrics of the statistics. Just something to note. I do have Donovan Edwards as a day 3 prospect right now that does have the ability to turn into a day 2 prospect for sure. So moving on, we have number 12 here, and we have Taj Brooks from Texas Tech. Super impressed with his tape. Great contact balance. He is a bull in a china shop. That's really one of the only ways I can describe him. He's got such an insane compact build, 5'10", 230 pounds. He's just an absolute bowling ball. Insane compact frame for the time. Brooks was statistically the hardest player in college football to tackle last year. I believe he had the most broken tackles last year at 86, I want to say, led the entire FBS. He's a relentless motor, always keeping his legs churning, always fighting for extra yards. He's got an elite stiff arm. It looks like Derrick Henry, and I'm not even exaggerating about that. Excellent pass blocker. Probably, in my opinion, the best pass blocking back in the entire draft class. On the con side, he is on the slower end. I don't have much cons for Taj Brooks. One of them being huge, being that he's like super slow for a running back. He doesn't have any type of burst through the line of scrimmage. He doesn't have top end speed. Just a one speed guy from, and it takes him a while to get to that top speed. That's another thing as well. And he's not a receiving threat. Only 74 receptions in 4 years at Texas Tech, especially being a team that has slowly transitioned from that air raid offense. You would think that the running back would get more involved, but not Taj Brooks. He's someone that I do have as a day 3 prospect right now. It really reminds me a lot of Audric Estime from last year. He's not very fast, but he's a really good runner for what he is. So I do like Taj Brooks' game a lot going into 2024. So now we're going to go down to number 11. Just missing out on the top 10 here, I have Trevor Etienne. So one of the things that I think Etienne has going against him is that he's still super young. And that's kind of the same thing that we saw with CJ Donaldson as well in my past evaluation. I just think that even though Etienne is going from Florida, he transferred to Georgia, huge expectations. And in an offense that does run the football quite a bit, he's going to have his time to shine. He's got a great frame with a low center of gravity, 5'9", 205, not an ideal size, but a great frame, very powerful, compact, very muscular. Contact balance is fantastic. Runs through arm tackles with absolute ease. He's got explosiveness, and you could see it off the screen. He's in the open field. He's gone. If you don't get him within that first 10 yards, it's very difficult for you to catch up to him in the open field. Powerful runner with his frame, sneaky shiftiness, excellent yards after the catch ability in the passing game. Would like to see him used more in the passing game at Georgia. Don't know how that's going to happen because Georgia always uses somewhat of a super committee. Effortless speed and acceleration. That's one thing that is huge with Etienne, is that he could get up to that top speed very quickly, and that top speed is some of the best in the entire draft class. Looking at the cons, he can't pass protect. He's a liability as a pass protector, and that's something that will work to his advantage at Georgia. Being at Georgia is they do teach their backs how to pass protect quite well. And I'm hoping that they could do that with ETN here. Not as consistent running to the right as he is to the left. Again, more of a one-sided formation runner. Only 249 collegiate carries to his name so far. Wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start right away. And there's still a lot of rawness to his game. Like I said, being just 19 years old, that could work in his advantage, though. He is, I would say if he goes back to Georgia for another year after this, it would be him and CJ Donaldson at the top of the board for me for 2026. Just my opinion, though. But he just misses out on the top 10 for me. Coming in at 10, we have Damen Martinez, Oregon State running back that transferred to Miami. Man, you want to talk about a guy that has a lot of green in his profile. 6 foot, 238 pounds, just 20 years old, turning 21 at the time throughout the season. Very, very strong runner. Arm tackles are right off of him. He's got a bowling ball mentality. He's got great vision. He does lack speed, but he hits the hole hard and with some deceptive quickness as well. A lot of people don't really know the difference between speed and quickness. I can't really help you if you don't know. That's not something that I could really disseminate to you guys in terms of information, but I know what I mean when I'm saying that someone could be quick but not fast. Excellent runner in between the tackles, slippery when moving through the offensive line and the line of scrimmage. Despite not being used much as a receiver, he impressed me with his overall receiving ability, and he looks quite comfortable as well. Someone that didn't have too many catches at Oregon State, but he looked like a pretty effortless receiver, which is something that is a huge plus for me. And high yards after contact average. He's always going to, I'm not going to say he's always going to get through the first tackle, but he's really going to punish that first tackler. Cons, he runs a little too high cut for me. Could get lower to the ground. He's a powerful back, but like I said, he lacks top end speed. Would love to see him used more as a receiver. That's not really a con on him, just something of a note. He's poor in pass protection though, but he also he wasn't asked to do it too much at Oregon State, but when he was asked to pick up blitzes, he did not do a good job. And he might not be as successful against tougher ACC opponents in 2024. So that's something to look out for. But Damen Martinez is poised for a huge 2024 season. I could see him rocketing up maybe even to the top 7, top 6 of this ranking here. I have him as a day 2 prospect for now. Now we're moving on to inside the top 10 here. We have Trayon Henderson from Ohio State. So I was surprised after KaShaun Judkins committed to Ohio State. I was very surprised that Henderson didn't move. I was actually surprised that he didn't come out. This was a poor running back draft class, to be quite honest with you, in the 2024 season. And this is a much stronger 2025 class. So I was pretty surprised he didn't come out. But that NIL money just, it just talks. He probably is making more money in college than he would in the NFL right now anyway. But he's one of the fastest running backs in the entire class. Has an impressive combination of acceleration and agility, and he makes him very difficult to tackle one-on-one. He's an awesome pass blocker. Doesn't get asked to do it too often. Only 62 pass blocking snaps in 2023, but he grades out extremely well. Henderson is a great receiver, and we should see a lot more of that with Judkins on the roster as well. We're going to look at a two-man attack here for the most part for Ohio State, and Henderson's probably going to take the reins of that receiving back. And he's one of the best in the entire class. He's not a power back, but he possesses good pop when welcoming contact. So he's going to lower his shoulder and he's going to deliver a blast. One for that, he could definitely do it. On side of it, the injured him a couple years ago throughout the 2 season. He will have to share touches, of course, so we'll get to see the full extent of Henderson's abilities. Not a great runner in between the tackles, more of a zone runner than a gap runner. And he's good in pass protection, but his technique does need a little fine-tuning. Like I said, he's good for the 62 snaps. I would like to see him used more as a pass protector, a little bit more just to develop that part of his game. But I really like what I see from Trayon Henderson. He's a day 2 prospect for me. A lot of these guys are day 2 prospects for me from here on out, but I really like what I see. And I think that where a lot of people thought his stock would be down going into 2025 because of KaShaun Judkins, I think he has a potential to rise his stock even more. Moving on inside the top 8 here, I have Raheem Rocket Sanders here, transferred from Arkansas to South Carolina. And going into the 2024 draft cycle, Raheem Sanders was my favorite running back in the entire class. Like I said, a lot weaker, but he only had 72 total touches in 2023 before he injured himself for the season. So most of my evaluation was based off of the 2022 numbers. He's got a massive frame. He's at he was at 6'2", 242 pounds, excuse me, but he is trimmed down to 225 pounds since transferring to the South Carolina Gamecocks. Really lives up to his Rocket nickname, has quite impressive burst, and is an impressive runner for his overall size. A lot quicker and faster than you would think for that massive frame, and that was at 242 pounds. So I can only imagine what he's going to look like at 225 pounds. Wasn't used a ton as a receiver in Arkansas, but did a good job making himself available for the check down. Just one drop in 31 targets in 2022. I know that's not a huge sample size, but for running backs that usually have stone hands, that's pretty good for me. He's a physically punishing runner in between the tackles, but also burns to the outside. Just an overall fantastic runner, to be quite honest with you. Good vision and anticipation. He hits the hole hard every time, and he's surprisingly elusive for his size. Now, on the cons, he allowed a 9.6% pressure rate in just 25 pass blocking snaps in 2022. So he's a liability right now as a blocker. For a running back of his size, he doesn't do all that great after contact. I've seen more often than not, and mind you, this is a 242-pound evaluation, not 225. So Rocket Sanders is someone on tape at 242 pounds that goes down after initial contact. So that's something that is a little finicky for me in his game. Don't really understand that part. He doesn't run through defenders. He goes down pretty easy. That's basically the same thing that I just said. Stamina seems a little low. He tires pretty easily. He does take some plays off here and there. Hopefully that was due to the weight issue now that he's dropped down 17 pounds and he's going to be healthy. I'm hoping that he got that cardio up. And he already has a significant injury under his belt. That torn labrum from last year is a significant injury. It doesn't bother me as much as a leg injury would, but it's still a noteworthy injury. So Raheem Sanders might be a little bit lower on this ranking than some people would have accustomed to, but I want to see him go through a healthy 2024 season. Moving down to number 7 here, I have Devon Neal. Really impressive back for me. Quite possibly the most elusive back in the entire class. 5'11", 215 pounds, has some really nice size as well. He's on the younger side. He will be 21 throughout the course of the season. He doesn't catch much, but someone that I want to see with the ball in his hands in the open field. I would love to see him get more touches in open space. Now, I know you can't get touches in open space as a running back. You have to run through the line of scrimmage, or you have to run around the line of scrimmage. Get him in the open field. He's insanely elusive. He's not overall hugely fast, but he's extremely elusive, and he creates some really nice separation. So I'd love to see him get the ball more as a receiver in the open field. Less than 200 touches a year on average. I love that usage. That's something that, just for quick context, if you look at Blake Corum's usage throughout his time in Michigan, it would average out to about 337 touches a season, which is insane for a 12-game season. That's absolutely insane. So Devon Neal is someone that doesn't have too much tread taken off of his tires. So that I love that, especially for a younger back. Great runner to the outside. He has more than enough speed to turn the corner and shoot up the sideline. Change of direction is excellent. Truly a poor pass blocker, a 34.2 overall DFF grade in 2023. He's more of a finesse runner. He doesn't seek out contact and would rather run east to west than north to south through defenders. Didn't really like that too much. Doesn't possess that overall impressive speed that you would like to see from someone that's going to look to run more east to west. Really poor runner between the tackles. Average less than 3 yards per carry in the A and B gap. And in my opinion, more of a complementary back than a 3-down playmaker. Someone that can come in and be that big-time playmaker on 3rd down, but he has more development in his game. He's got so many tools that I really like. And see, Jalen Daniel and Devon Neal in the backfield for Kansas this year is going to feed families. That's going to be something that's really, really enjoyable to see. So just missing out on that top 5, we have DJ Giddens here for me. This was my favorite evaluation the entire time. I knew what I was going to get from Ashton Jeanty. I knew what I was going to get from KaShaun Judkins. I knew what I was going to get from Ollie Gordon. But Giddens was someone that I was firmly impressed with the entire time. Shifty in the open field, not an easy player to bring down one-on-one, always fights for those extra yards. And he's a patient runner that allows those blocks to develop. Love that. Solid rusher overall in between the tackles and outside the tackles. Someone that didn't average less than 4.5 yards on either avenue of running. Either way he went up the middle, he went to the left, to the right, in between the gaps. He was over 4.5 yards per carry in every single avenue. So I love that. Showed promise as a legitimate receiving weapon out of the backfield. Good contact balance, excellent ball security. I believe he's fumbled once in his collegiate career so far. On the con side, he's not very fast. We'll probably test out between that 4.6, 4.65 mark. I don't see enough burst to be too excited about that. Not a bad pass blocker, but could stand to develop a little bit more in that area. Would like to see more chunk runs from Giddens in 2024. He's someone that I never really saw a huge run from him. I believe 20 yards, 25 yards here and there. I want to see him burst through the line of scrimmage and go. I want to see a 40, 50-yard run, something like that from him. And too many straight runs into the defender in 2023. He was someone that kind of stuck to the plan a little bit too much for me. Not too much from the improvisational side for DJ Giddens, someone that's kind of going to stick to, if it's a halfback dive up the middle and he sees that the lane is closed, he's just going to kind of run into it anyway and hope for the best. So I'd like to see a little bit more improvisational skills from Giddens, but I really, really liked what I saw. He just missed out on my top 5 for me, unfortunately, but a fantastic player that I think is going to go relatively early on day 2. I'm thinking, late second round, early third round, something along those lines. Moving on to our top 5, and rounding out that top 5 is Omar Hampton from North Carolina. So massively productive behind the 101st best offensive line in the country in 2023. So out of 128 FBS teams, they ranked 101st in the country, and he was insanely productive. He possesses an impressive initial burst and breakaway speed, extremely physical in the open field. Defenders have a real problem getting him down. He's just that high knee type of running. He's insanely hard to bring down. Overall, high motor and effort. He's always fighting for those extra yards. He's a really, really good receiver. And one of my favorite stats about Omar Hampton is nearly 67% of his yards came after the contact in 2023. Now that's overall as a receiver and as a runner. That's absolutely insane, which just proves to me how good of a runner he truly is behind a terrible offensive line. He's getting caught in the backfield a lot, and he's still making positive yardage out of it, which is crazy. He's a good overall runner, but I do think he lacks truly elite vision. Maybe with a better offensive line, we'll see, something more, but I don't have many cons for Omar Hampton. I think he's a really, really good player. Pass blocking is solid, but it gets blown up against better overall defenses. Like against a solid defensive end or an outside linebacker, he's going to get completely blown up. And he doesn't look all that fluid as an athlete for someone who has a very athletic build at 6 foot 220 with good overall speed. His juke moves look a little clunky. They look a tick slow at times, and it looks like he doesn't know exactly when to drop that shoulder. It looks like he's doing it a little too late, a little too early. He's a little clunky in his elusiveness, so I'd like to see him smooth that out going into the 2024 season. But overall, Omar Hampton is a fantastic prospect, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he could do this year. I do have him as a very early day 2 prospect. Moving on inside the top 4, I have Jaden Ott. I don't know where the hype for Jaden Ott went, but going into this year, preliminarily, I don't even know if that's a word, that just kind of came out of me there. That was crazy. He was a consensus top 5 guy, and I just saw the hype just kind of go away. And then you put on his tape, and I don't understand why the hype went away. 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's a little light in his bridges for me, to be honest with you. 200 pounds. I'd love to see him bulk up there, but impressive burst in the open field. Breakaway speed for sure. Great vision. Has a plan of attack before bursting through the line of scrimmage, which is, that in itself is fantastic. He's not just guessing up there. Impressive runner to the outside, shows a real knack for turning the corner up the field. He's a good receiving back, decent hands, just 2 drops on 87 targets in the last 2 seasons. Good power for his size. He likes to lower the shoulder and run through the defenders. Fluid movement, especially as a receiver. Doesn't look clunky with no wasted motion. And he's got good contact balance as well. As a con, he's experienced as a pass blocker, but he's pretty inconsistent. Running to the right side of the formation is not strong. He needs to improve a little bit on that, and then would like to see him used more as a receiver because he's a dynamic overall athlete. This isn't, again, that's not really a con on his game. That's just more of the game plan. I'd love to see him more as a receiver. I want to see more of Jaden Ott in 2024. Just missed out on my top 3 for me. So we're going to move on to here, maybe a little controversial. Really don't care. Rounding out my top 3, I have Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State. There was a far more cons in his game that I really expected, to be quite honest with you, but he's got a massive frame. Ollie Gordon, 6'2", 216 pounds, probably going to play more towards that 225. Fantastic speed, power, strength combination. Super athlete, fluid mover, not as stiff as some other backs. He really could stop on a dime and change direction with relative ease. Great explosiveness through the line of scrimmage. Is a runaway freight train, essentially. Contact balance is up there as some of the best in the class. Great vision. Seems like he has the ball. He has a ball with the ball in his hands. He's got great patience. Overall, a strong runner to all directions and all gaps. But on the con side, a bit of a drop issue. 9.3 drop percentage throughout his collegiate career. Don't love that. Despite his explosiveness, I don't think he possesses that 4.43 speed as he reportedly has. Seems to get caught from behind way too often for him to have that type of breakaway speed. He's not an overwhelming receiving threat. So I don't think that teams could really hone in on that, to be quite honest with you. I think that they could just stack the box and with 8 guys and really just expect him to be more of a runner. I don't think that he's really much of a receiving threat at all. Decent enough blocker, could use some fine tuning in that area, and 324 overall touches last season. Don't want to see him get burned out. That's a lot of touches for someone that I believe he only played in 12 games. That's a lot of touches for 12 games. So that was an alarming number there. I don't want to see a number like that again this year. I want to preserve this guy. You want to preserve these guys as much as possible. But Ollie Gordon is someone that I have as a late first-round talent. Yeah, I have 3 running backs in this draft class that have first-round talent, in my opinion, and Ollie Gordon is one of them. That's that fringe first-round, maybe super early second-round running back. More of that Breece Hall territory where Breece Hall went around that top 40. I'm thinking that's an Ollie Gordon type of range. And at number 2, I have KaShaun Judkins here. And Judkins is phenomenal. He really is. Incredible contact balance, very difficult to bring down the open field. Just in general, he's just really, really difficult to bring down in general. But in the open field, it's hard. It's tough. Vision is unreal. Probably the best vision in the entire class. A fantastic blend of patience and burst to hit the hole when it opens up. And he's got great anticipation. He knows it seems like he knows when that hole is going to open up, and he absolutely explodes through it. And he's got insane explosiveness. The burst after he hits the hole is exceptional. It looks like he was shot out of a cannon. Once he gets through that line of scrimmage, he is as good as gone. And he's going to have a fantastic offensive line in front of him. So I can only imagine he was doing this at Ole Miss. I can only imagine what he's going to be doing at Ohio State. A fantastic running ability in between the tackles, around the tackles. He's an incredibly physically strong player. On the con side, I guess if you guys will take one thing away from this is that I value pass blocking quite a bit. Not a strong pass blocker, gives up far too many pressures for my liking. Notable decline in production from 2022 to 23. I was expecting Judkins to light the world on fire, have 2,000 rushing yards last year. But also with the takeover of the offense of Jackson Dart, maybe that was one of the big reasons why he did transfer. Can't blame him there. Not as strong as a runner outside the tackles as he is in between. So do with that information what you will. He doesn't have explosive home run speed, even though he possesses that insane burst. So he essentially has those 2 gears. He doesn't have that breakaway gear, but it's a fantastic burst that kind of disappoints you when you see like, all right, now he's going to take off. That acceleration is going to come, and it's just burst and speed, and that's it. Could use more reps as a receiver. I doubt he's going to get that opportunity this year with Trayon Henderson in the backfield with him. But Judkins is overall, to me, throughout my early evaluations, a top 20 player in this entire draft class. He's sensational, in my opinion, and he could easily be 1 in this class. But 1 for me is only 1 guy left, and that's Ashton Jeanty for me. This guy is the total package. Now, just as good as KaShaun Judkins is, I do think Jeanty is a little bit better. Just as strong of a runner for every direction, whether it's between the tackles, outside the tackles. Fantastic. Incredibly strong receiving skills. Can legitimately be a true 3-down back at the NFL level. 0 drops on 48 targets last year. Physical bowling ball style runner. He's only 5'10", 210 pounds, but man, is he strong for his size. He's got fantastic vision, extremely elusive in the open field. He's got explosive breakaway speed. To be quite honest with you, Jeanty might be the only prospect in this entire draft class to me that has that true home run breakaway speed, and he has it at 210 pounds, which is pretty crazy. Very strong pass blocker. Limited sample size, but from what I saw, I was very impressed. On the con side, just need to see more consistency as a blocker. A bit of a fumbling problem in 2023. I would love to see him clean that up. He fumbled the ball 5 times and lost them all 5 times in 2023. And he looks for contact a little too often in my taste. He doesn't take what's given to him. Essentially, sometimes there are those clear lanes where he could just run untouched, and it seems to be that he slows down and tries to welcome that contact. Just save your body, man. Take what's given to you. Take what the defense is given to you. And a little bit on the shorter side, but he still possesses that overall very, very solid frame. Gene T is someone to me that when I watched his tape was just overall phenomenal in every aspect. I don't think there's a true, real weakness in his game. He's easily my favorite running back prospect preseason in the entire class. So there you have it. There's my top 20. Big board here for the Patreon with JWAC Gridiron here. I mean, I think that this is some exceptional work, and not just because I did it, but we take a look. We have everything is color coded. Everything just kind of works. Let's take Jaquavius Marx, for example, here. Let's look. We have all the pros. This is what I was reading off of here. I mean, look at these evaluations here. I mean, you're getting a full evaluation from every single prospect on this list here. I don't skimp out as well, except for the guys that obviously I haven't conducted for yet. But I mean, you're looking at some tremendous evals here. So just take a look at these 13 guys that didn't make it. I have more guys to add to the list. I haven't added them yet, and you will get my full. What the beauty of this is this is forever updating. So if you look at my preseason rankings and you go, man, where's Micah Bernard? And you don't see him, you go to the Patreon, you pay $4.99 a month for the draft guide. You go down, you see, oh, Micah Bernard's here, but he's not in the video because the video was 2 months ago. But this is forever changing. This is forever updating. So just a quick plug right there. This is essentially what you're getting, and this is for every single positional group. I haven't finished obviously yet. There's so many more to go through, but I'll give you guys a sneak peek on the safeties I have here. So even safeties, I'm doing safeties now as well. Kevin Winston Jr. is my clear-cut number 1 as of right now, but that's what I'm saying. This is what you're getting. You're getting a forever updating list of not only me, but you got JWAC as well, who has his. I mean, this is an insane list in its own right here. He's added some guys to Ulysses Bentley, Roydell Williams, Jonah Coleman. He's added guys as well to his. So you know what I mean? You're getting 2 different perspectives here for $4.99 a month, and you're getting all this work. I think it's well worth it, and you're welcome to cancel at any point. So just a quick little plug there for me. Getting back to this, thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below, and I will see you in the next one.